So I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. Nico Rogers of Dead Man's Whiskey. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, mate. Long time no see. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Been a little while.
How's your year going?
Yeah, good, man. Busy. Changed jobs and stuff since I last saw you. Now waiting for the hospice that just push play support. So, yeah, all busy, all good, mate.
Oh,
Looks like you've
that's
had a
good,
busy
man.
year and all, man.
Yeah, there's been a few writings of addresses on envelopes. It's been quite a lot of that going on. But yeah, it's been I think manic is the word I'd choose. There's a lot of steps to bringing an album out. It's the curse of being a little bit more successful than the last time that we brought an album out.
Well, as you say, man, the album's coming out last yesterday, as we sit, as it is
Yeah.
live now, so to speak. You had your album launch show down at the Boston Music Rooms. How'd
Yeah.
that go for you, man?
It was deeply emotional,
Mm.
honestly. I think the wildest thing was, the record's been out for a week
Mm.
and people were singing the lyrics.
Nice.
And there's a track on there called Tricky Situation, which has a call and response part. And I didn't have to say, come on, guys, it goes like this, do this bit. They just did it.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, that makes my job so easy. So yeah, I felt very, very loved. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Well, like you say, the album Do or Die came out last week. Already getting really sounds like you're getting good live response, really, like you say. Little while since the last one Under the Gun, which first release, what was that, 2017, 2018?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
like
what
6 years.
caused the break? I mean, life, I'm guessing, but
A big part of it was the all the lockdown stuff because
yeah.
2019 we were like, right, we've got most of the songs in the barrel. We'll get in the studio, get those ones down, spend a couple of weeks writing the rest. Bish bash bosh. Went in, did a day, recorded Masquerade, and then the planet closed. And we were like, oh, okay. Well, what we'll do, we'll all write at home then. And we started writing songs, and we were like, oh, these are better than the ones we've already written. We'll put those out, and that became the breakout EP
All
because they
right.
all were songs that would have been on album two. We're like, we'll use them because we like them and we've put them on record.
Hmm.
We've done them in the studio, but we're going to save Masquerade because that's our favorite out of those songs. Sleep When I'm Dead nearly got saved as well, but so we pull those songs, keep hold of this, and we're writing and writing and writing, and then we realize we've hit the wall. We need to get back in the studio. So when then the studio's opened, we can go back to rehearsal spaces, more writing. Right, let's record it, but we want to record with the right people. Are you free next month? No, of course we're not. We'll be free in 8 months' time. Okay, we'll see you in 8 months. Right, that's good. So we finished recording. How long till that's ready? Well, you're now into the cycle for mixing, so that will be another 3 or 4 months, and then everything just dun 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 dun. But you get to the end and you're like, obviously the whole time you're panicking, you're wanting things to be done now and ready, but it's only because we're excited.
Of
But you
course.
take the time and you do it properly, and at the end you look at it and you go, oh, that really does look and sound very nice. I'm glad that we took the time and the effort and the expense and the sleepless nights, and but it's all worth it, man. I'm so proud of what we've put out,
Yeah.
like immeasurably proud. I didn't think we were capable of a thing of this quality.
It feels like, I mean, I know it's like you say, it has been the 6 years, and you would imagine there has been a progression in the 6 years that we're talking about. But obviously, you were writing those songs beforehand, but it really does feel like a fuller, there's a slightly more kind of darker side to some of the songs, a kind of heavier
Yeah,
tone on the production a little bit there as well compared to the debut and to the breakout EP. And it just sounds like a fuller, more anthemic in places, just like a richer album than you've released previously.
I think a big part of it is over time you find yourself a bit more. Like when you're starting out, it's easier to kind of hide behind, like, Bill sounds a lot like Slash, so he's going to have a very Slash tone on the first record, and I like Vedder and I like Cornell, so it's going to kind of lean towards that a bit. So when it's soft, it sounds like Vedder, and when it's hard, it sounds like Cornell. But over time, you start to relax into yourself and your own sound, and working with Colin Richardson and Chris Clancy on this,
Oh, do they do
I've
the production
never,
on it, do they?
yeah, so they produced the album.
Nice.
And working with them, especially Chris, like I have never worked with someone who made me as comfortable in a vocal booth as Chris does.
That's
I for years was incapable of listening back to my own takes.
mm,
I'd leave the room so the band could listen. I'd come back in and be like, what needs to be
yeah,
redone?
yeah.
But I don't know, man. It just had this skill for getting me to kind of completely let go of the performance and treat it more like an instrument than like I was judging myself.
Yeah.
And I mean, he discovered quite early on, because I'm always doing silly voices and whatever, that I do impersonation, and he had this knack of saying like Nico, Vedder, just to push me slightly towards Eddie Vedder, but it was pulling me away from like sounding like Hetfield or sounding like Dio, or and then we just started using it. And you'll be able to, if you go through the album with a fine-tooth comb, you'll be like, that line sounds like Paul Stanley, that line sounds like Ronnie James Dio, and it's just because he's like, that vibe will really fit this moment. Just trust yourself and do it. And I mean, he was right, man. It's incredible what you can do when you've got good people in your corner. I mean, look at the festival you put on, man.
Oh, thanks, man. You're too kind. But it's that thing, is when you've got someone outside of the actual art that's being created, looking at it, but who's also, is invested it, as you guys obviously as producer, they both want it to sound great because
Yeah.
it's their name on it as well. But when you've got someone invested like that, that does seem to be a very, very vital tool in bringing out the very, very best of the people he's creating.
It's like we turned up, we were like, yeah, we've got the 11 songs written. And they're like, cool, do you wanna play them for us? And we're like, yeah. And we played them the 11 songs. And they're like, really, honestly, I reckon you've got 4.5, maybe 5 songs, but we'll get you there. And there were like late nights set up,
Mm.
writing new choruses. They'd be like, that chorus doesn't go there, but it might work in this other song, but you'll need to change the lyrics. Like one of my favorite tracks, the closing track on the album, Fear is Cold,
Great
it
track.
was, thank you. um I was like, I like it, but I don't know, I'm not feeling the lyrics. And
Mm.
I just took 10 minutes, I went away, and I went to the loo, and when I was sat down, I was like, I think I've got an idea. And then I didn't come out the bathroom for about 45 minutes, because I just sat and wrote the song again.
Yeah.
And it happens so far. Like you can spend days looking at a page trying to write lyrics. But in that moment, it was like, no, figured it out. And we've always tried to be, and I think the reason Make You Proud works so much is because it's a very honest song. And I think honesty goes a long way in music.
Definitely.
And on this record, there aren't really any songs that are like, like that. I know it's only rock and roll and I like it. Like
Yeah.
Life on the Road, isn't it great? And everything on there is like, I'm angry at the government, or aren't things bad? And it's what we were feeling when we wrote the record, and I think it really shows.
The sad thing though is that time that you were writing it, I don't think there's a person in this country, and we could go on about politics, but we won't because we'll ostracize half the people listening. But no matter what your political persuasion is, I think there's not a person in this whole country, even the world, I would say, in the last couple of years who wouldn't have said they weren't angry, annoyed,
Yeah,
felt let down at some way at some point. And then as an artist, and like you say, especially for yourselves who have written so honestly throughout your releases, that's just going to happen. I would
I
say that
think
get reflected.
I think it would be remiss to, because like you say, it transcends political parties. This isn't like an us versus them situation at all anymore. This is humanity versus the situation we found ourselves in.
Exactly.
And we can either point fingers and say, well, if so and so hadn't done X 30 years ago, or if the young people weren't doing this,
Mm.
or we could all take a step back and say, too little, too late isn't enough. What's done is done. We need to improve this. And I mean, that I love Island in the Storm. I when we first got the record back, immediately I was like, I think this might be the best thing we've ever done. But then you listen to it over and over again, and my favorite song changes twice a week, so I can't decide what one it is on the record. But like it was, we got warned when we were writing it, well, we'd already written it, we'd recorded it, and some people who we sent it to, they were like, "Oh, you might isolate some people. People might put you in a political category." And so, I mean, to be honest, most people can assume we're artists.
Yeah.
We're a bunch of long-haired oiks. They know what political spectrum we're probably on, and it's not about politics. It's not about Conservatives and Labour and Green and Lib Dems. It's about England.
Yeah, it's about how we feel. It's about
It's about the fact that every day on my way to work, I go past a food bank and I think about the fact that there are hungry kids.
yeah.
And if we can't feed our kids, there's a vital misstep somewhere. And this is quickly turning into a politics podcast. This isn't about music anymore.
But it is, it's about the content of it. But
Well, yeah, it's true.
and that's going to sing on it. And I just think it does. It sounds like a fuller album, more richer album. I mean, you're saying about bringing Masquerade over from the previous writing sessions there. Was that like the first song that you had done for this album then, or did any precede Masquerade?
We did it last when it came to the record. So we had it recorded. We were like, here's the song. And Colin and Chris went, no, it ain't. um, and we changed the least on it
Okay.
because we'd already shot the video. So it's like we actually can't change anything structurally. But if you watch the video, you'll notice that you do not see me very much at all in that video because the lyrics were different in a lot of places. And it was originally the two choruses had slightly different melodies, and they were like, no, that's not what you want. You want things to be memorable, you want it to work. And they were telling us all these sort of not like tips and tricks, but almost like the laws of physics, but for cohesive songwriting. We were like, oh man, no one's ever told us off before. We actually really needed this. But it meant that the other songs that we'd sort of got less attachment to, it was quite easy to write on and change things on and add things to and rip things out. And then it got to that one. It was like we really did dig our heels. We were awful. There's a thing called demo love, which is when you write a song and you've been playing it for 6 months or whatever, and you're like, it's perfect, don't touch it. And then someone external says, I don't think you need 5 choruses, and you're like, shut up, it's perfect. But objectively, you don't. So yeah, luckily they managed to push us over that line and get us to actually fix the song and make it what it is.
So do you think without them, the album wouldn't have been, you'd have had the songs there, but they might not have been finished in the way that it
I
is.
think 40% of the quality that it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And mostly just because, and it's easy to make it sound like they kind of wrote the album for us or rewrote, but it was more having someone with no emotional connection to it,
Yeah.
just pointing out that doesn't work, try something else,
Bringing that
and
out.
then to be able to say that's better when you do it. It just helps. I'd recommend, like, even if anyone's out there and you're writing music and you're performing stuff, ask your friends who are in other bands, or ask your mum because she's got a massive record collection, or whatever, whoever it is that you talk to about music, playing your stuff, and brace for constructive criticism, because it is hard to hear that's not quite good enough, and people don't like saying it.
No.
But once you get over being told that you need to do the work again, it's so worth it. It is so worth it.
So with that in mind, were there any songs once you started, looking at it from that different angle that we're saying about there, that started firing off the trajectory, if you like, of the rest of it? Like, what was the first song that you like went, right, okay, we need to do this, and then it started working, you're like, right, we're in that zone now? Was there one thing that kicked it off?
I think Raven's Call is one of them.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of it was leaning towards slightly heavier, but it was like we hadn't accepted that we can just be a bit heavier.
Yeah.
And when they were like, that's good, but why are you playing that on that tone? Don't you want it to be a bit more like heavy but crunchier. Bill went, oh yeah, we did, but we thought it might sound a bit heavy. Try it, play it for us. And he goes, that dun dun dun.
Riff on that
And
is killer.
they were like, yeah, perfect. And we all went, okay, okay, be brave.
Yeah.
Play it like we had imagined it. Because there's all these things like when you listen to it, there are like choral harmonies where it was me in a room for hours doing the same line 40, 50, 60 times. And it's just because that the people we've worked with before, they've been great, but generally we're on quite a short time scale.
Yeah.
So we don't have the time to be like spending, but we spent half a day just on BVs and harmonies.
Oh wow, that's cool.
And that's a long time.
Hmm.
And it meant that, you know, we could get experimental. It was like, oh, what if we had this backing vocal? And you could spend half an hour doing it and go, no, that's actually rubbish. Get rid of that.
Yeah.
As opposed to put one in, that's the one, that's where it sticks. Just make sure James can sing it live. Off you go. Yeah,
No, go on, mate. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I think Raven was the first little drop that started the tide of, oh, what if this had we added a breakdown in here, and this one did a like in Who I Am, that kind of, it's almost like Linkin Park breakdown in the middle. And it was like, oh yeah, we'd never even think to do that, but someone's let us off the chain. And where we recorded at Andy Sneap's studio,
Oh, wicked.
and it's you stay in, like, there's a little cottage, and you walk into the kitchen and you open a door, and it's a giant rehearsal room with a studio attached to it. So like you're still stirring your coffee, and
Yeah.
you're just in the music world. And it was so good because there was never like I've got an idea, I'll write it down, and when we go to the studio, it was like, I've got an idea, stand up, walk,
Yeah.
Chris, can you hit record for me? Like that was it. It was amazing. It's the perfect working space.
Did you feel like that fed into like being able to push your things out? Because nothing, you've already been told, there's nothing off limits for you guys. And I'd agree that
Yeah,
with any artist, whatever an artist creates is going to sound like them. Like the
yeah,
tracks on the album, like you say, you've got like the really heavy crunching riffs of like Raven's Call up to the kind of sort of epic of Closer to You and everything in between across the album. You've got that kind of expansive sound within you. So you've already been told, right, take their chain off, boys, just go for what you want to go for. And then
yeah,
you've also got that added bonus of, like you say, not being having to go, okay, well, we'll write that down for tomorrow. And then your conscious kicks in that doubt part that's in any artist's brain going, oh, well, is that really us? You can just
yeah.
lay it down and then it's already there, in stone, so to speak.
Yeah, I think the big one, and I'd give this advice to everyone, is do not record the song that you think goes at your level. It's like the dress for the job you want thing.
Mm.
It's, if you've got the time, record the track you want to hear when you think about the song you're writing. Like if you think, oh, but we don't have a brass section, put that brass section in, put it in. If you can't do it live, it doesn't matter. No one's going to go, I'm sure there's a trumpet here. They're just going to enjoy the song.
Yeah.
So just go nuts. The studio is the place to just like live out your wildest dreams. And then one day when that track has made you goddamn famous, hire your 4 brass instrumentalists and they will do it live and you'll be living the goddamn dream. So do it.
Speaking of doing these tracks live, though, have you had any particular favorites that you've done live as yet?
Oh, so obviously we played the whole album beginning to end last night.
Yeah.
It's the only time we're ever going to do that because it was really weird to just sort of like karaoke our album in a weird way. But I think Do or Die was, it was very emotional live. It was, yeah, that one felt real good. What's Your Name? God damn it, I love that song.
Awesome.
But that one, there's a lot of theatre to that, so that one was super fun live.
Hmm.
I don't think there's any I don't like the obviously we're playing the first album, the EP, for so long. Some of them I'm like, I don't really want to do that one tonight,
Of
but I
course.
think it's going to be a long time before I'm like, oh, I don't want to play Who I Am, because it's a good time, man. I think they're also different and energetic, that it's easy to play them and still enjoy them. Ask me again in 2 years, and I'll see how I feel about it.
I think that thing though is that now is the time to play these songs for you guys. You just
Yeah,
recorded, they're being released. I was chatting to JB Cannon Royal Sons the other week about their release of Darkfire and Lightbringer, and he was saying the same thing. You know, right now they're about to set up on their tour, and what he'd really love to do is just do both albums back to back and just go right.
yeah,
Let's chuck all these songs out there because you put it, in a couple of years' time, they're going to be onto something else, and yeah, they'll be feeding in bits and pieces from the album, but right now is the time to celebrate this release, and like right now is the time for you guys to celebrate this release from you guys.
yeah. Set lists get difficult, man. When you're like, which of our children don't get to be played tonight? It's a weird feeling, especially because, well, we call it the Holy Trinity,
Yeah,
which is the Hoe Street Make You Proud Racing Bullet, which
yeah.
we've been ending the set on for like 3 years now, because it works. We've got it really tight. Um, and there are moments now of, well, do we have time for all three?
Yeah.
Because we've got an hour set and there are 50 minutes on the new album. How much of that are we willing to not play to play 18 minutes of the old album?
That'll be
It's
quite liberating though to be able to right. We've now got a reason. You've got that trio there, and that's
yeah,
obviously three fan favorites right there. But you've got that, and like you say, it works. You've got it tight. You can smash it out of the park. Um,
yeah,
but equally, you've got a reason now to go. Well, we don't have to do that, and fans will
yeah,
not necessarily expect us to do that because the new album's out, and they'll be wanting to hear new stuff live. Because when you see any act that you love,
yeah.
I mean, I mentioned the band because it'd probably be a bit mean to, but I went to see a band I absolutely love, and they were supposed to be touring their new album. They played one song off it. That was it.
Oh,
They played one song off it, and I'd seen them the year before on a kind of general tour, and it was pretty much the same set, except they had one song from the album. Like, you've done a whole album here. When the album was slamming, the album was really good.
yeah.
But it's like you've done a whole album there, and you play one song. Well, like, what's the point? What's
That
the
is that feels weird to me.
Yeah,
That's not a decision I think we'd make because
no,
we
exactly.
we want to play the new stuff. So
Yeah, I'll tell you who it is when we stop recording. But
okay, gutted audience, you don't get to know.
but yeah, that was like the most disappointed I've been at a show, especially I'd
Yeah,
seen them the year before. Don't get me wrong, great live band and everything, but it was like, what are you doing? You played the same thing.
I know this set.
You could almost guess what they were going to play next. It was that sort of similar, but
Yeah,
you guys have got the opportunity, like you're saying. You guys want to go out and showcase this great album that you've recorded, and why would you not do that?
you
But
always make me feel good. You know that
I hope
you're
so.
such a positive force.
I try to be. It's not always easy. Try. But speaking of the live songs and everything going live, of course, you got you got the out tour coming up next month.
Yes,
We'll be coming down to Norwich Day, which is the 12th of November
12th of November.
at
Yeah,
B2. So me and Joe will be along to that. You got,
lovely.
be good to see you guys, and you got a great set of run of dates here, man. But you can't wait to crack into the rest of the tour now that you've done your sort of album launch show, can you?
Oh man, we've been waiting to take this album on the road for what feels like forever. So actually going out and doing it, and anyone listening, we're gonna do a Lee Graham exclusive. If your city's not on there, just chill out. Can't do it all at once. Just give it a few months, okay? Just keep an eye on the socials. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Just keep an eye on the social media.
Fair play. But yeah, and then I mean, I know you're switching up some of the support acts, but I know you got like Twister and Beth Blades on in
Mhm.
Norwich. You had the Hot 1-2 boys last night at the album.
Yes.
Are they doing any other shows with you on the tour?
Uh, I would need to check the spreadsheet. I believe the Hot 1-2 are. They're actually, by the way, really nice guys.
All right, mate.
All three bands we had on last night. I mean, we already knew Beth's lovely. Those guys are great. Twister, proper lads, really, really nice. And the Hot 1-2 were, like I say, really lovely. They bought us a tray of shots mid-set and just delivered them to the stage. It was very exciting. I was like, "Is this a bad idea? This is probably a bad idea. I'll just do this Jaeger bomb quickly."
Sounds like those guys, to be fair.
But yeah, they're definitely those three. are part of this. Like there's this community in the rock scene, and you will be well aware of it because they're putting on your festivals. But like when people get on, it is it's this kind of like immediate familiarity because we're all playing the same game.
Yeah,
So it's like you meet each other and you're like, so we're friends now, and that's it. So cool, good work. Let's just crack on, and it's always so much healthier because like you'll share equipment, and when you trust each other to like watch each other's merch and help each other load in and load out, and it just is more pleasant.
absolutely.
And like yeah, last night was great, and I mean everyone we're going on the tour with are people who I mean you wouldn't ask them to be on your tour with you even for one date if you didn't a respect them, b love their music, and c want to share a stage with them. And yeah, it's I mean it's just a wicked group of people that we're going to get to play with over all these dates.
Sounds great, man. I mean, I know what exactly you're talking about. I mean, it just always cracks me up every year at Just Push Play. There seems to be there's always like a little group of bands that all seem to interweave, and
Yeah,
somewhere along the line, everyone on the bill knows each other, whether it's by whatever means.
yeah,
And this year was no exception. Once again, you go out to the South Lights at Apex. I'm going out helping out bands load out at the end of the night, and you get people going, "Oh, don't worry, Lee, I've got this," and they'll run off with someone else's gear to help them load out and everything else. It's
yeah.
just a really nice thing when that happens, man.
Got to look after each other, man.
We definitely have, man. We definitely have. So who else have you actually got going down the road? Is it just those three, or have you got? I think you got others.
We've got some others. I've got to find the poster because
Okay,
it is a lot of names. So bear with me, my love.
quite all right. That's what I'm trying to do myself.
This I've got admin brain at the moment because there's been so many steps to what we're doing and so many people and places, and
Yeah.
but all worth it. All absolutely worth it. I don't know if you saw, but we bloody charted the thing.
Yes, I did see that, man. That's amazing news.
It's yeah. I I don't know how. I don't know what we did. I don't know who we have to thank. Apart well, I do know who we have to thank.
People who bought
Everyone who bought it, everyone who's listening to it, but I don't know who told them to do it. I don't think it was me.
it. Just looking at the artwork again as well, mate. The artwork is really, really cool. Really like that.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I mean, we at Leo's, we're gonna have Amongst Liars, we're gonna have White Raven Down, and my loves Ashen Reach,
Yeah,
one of my favorite bands on the whole scene.
nice.
Honestly, Norwich, we've got the same lineup as last night, so yeah, you'll get to see the Hot One too. They're out with us for quite a few. Thieves of Liberty are with us on some of them. The Hot Dam
Oh yeah,
up in Blackpool. We're going to be co-headlining with them
that'd be
because
cool.
we were contesting the date. Like we both wanted the same day, so
Oh,
we
yeah.
were like, "Hey, we like you like us. Let's just share it."
Makes sense.
Our Welsh dates we're going to have Cassidy Paris and Wicked Smile,
Oh yeah, we could.
and yeah, other than that, it's mostly Twister, the Hot One too, and the lovely Beth Blade and the Beautiful Disasters.
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking to Steve at Twister the other week for an interview,
Yeah,
and yeah, he seems all absolutely buzzing for. Actually, they've been working hard on a new lineup and new material themselves, so I imagine that's going to be a good
I mean,
collab.
they were really good last night. One of those. I watched all three bands before us last night. You know, stood at the merch, watching the bands play, and getting more and more nervous with each one. It's like I don't want to go up now. I don't like it. But then, at some point the switch flicks, and you're like, no, I have to go up now
Yeah,
because they've all been really good. So now I have to be really good, or we're the band that didn't pull our socks up on the night. I think that is a good bit of healthy competition, actually. Though that's why it's good to have a good lineup. You want your warm up band to keep you on your toes
yeah, of course.
because you never want to be like, oh yeah, we're fine, we'll just play.
No,
Like every night is Wembley Arena. Every night. That's the rule.
things they all.
Even if it's
I was just going to say, also from an audience perspective, you don't want to sit there and go, right, not enthralled by the support band here, so I'm just going to go
yeah,
and go get a beer or whatever because it just you know, you've started at that low. Whereas if you've got like really couple of cool support acts, you build it up. Like, you know, I remember seeing, you know, we went to go see Mason Hill and they had Empire and Holostar supporting them, and that was a really good night because all three bands are absolutely on fire. And there's
Yeah,
nothing better than that. And I know you chatted to my mate Steve Williams yesterday at the show.
yeah,
And Steve sort of came out and he was buzzing because, you know, he was messaging me, oh, Hot One 2 they've done a really cool set again. You know, oh, Beth Blaze great, Twist have been brought in, Their Man's Whiskey Boys are smashing it, you know, and that's what you want in the crowd. It just feeds off.
yeah.
So you've just got to go out there and be the cream on the cake, mate.
Well, I am very creamy. What can I say?
Very sweet and very creamy.
That sounds dangerous for a diabetic.
It does, to be fair. Sorry, mate. So, other than the UK tour you got lined up, you've actually got the album now out supporting that. What else
Yeah.
does the rest of the year hold for you guys?
We've put a bit of a kibosh on it because I am getting married in a few weeks. So
Congratulations.
unfortunately, thank you very much. Unfortunately is a weird word to use in that sentence, but unfortunately that has meant that a bit of time has been nicked from the band.
Yeah,
But it's like I said, like I gently hinted before, some prep will be happening for some more shows. So we we'll finish that in November, December. We'll be doing some admin, and then we'll figure out where next. But the big hope now is to, because as you know, unsigned, mostly unmanaged, almost entirely unprincipled. So it's back onto that rock and roll grindstone of hoping that someone with a bit more oomph than us is listening. We'd like to get a nice support tour, and also angling for more festivals, as always. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But yeah, I think we had Stillhouse this year, which was absolutely fab. It was a great show and a great day, and I drank far too much cherry Kraken, but that's a story for another radio show. Yeah, I think it's December is just prep for next year, putting fuel in the fire. We've got a few bits, like we've got Winter's End for Planet Rock.
Oh yeah,
I think it's Winter's End. I always get the two mixed up. I'm pretty sure it is. Those on Crows, Stonebroken, they're both on it. It's going to be a big weekend, that one. It's sort of all the Planet Rock favorites from our
really good lineup
bubble. Yeah. So it's going to be wicked.
Yeah, a really good lineup though, man. That should be a great one for you guys. So if you could get on the tour, you're talking about, you want to get a decent support slot. Then if you could, if you could cherry pick who you get to go out and do the support slot with, who would you go with? Also, you're open to all offers. We are saying this to any band who would want to have Dead Man's Whiskey supporting them. But if you could cherry pick a favourite, we can blame it on me for.
I mean, if we're looking for the people who would like us, I think Blackstone Cherry would be a really sensible pick.
Yeah.
But if I don't say this, Billy is going to beat me to death with his guitar. So it would have to be GNR, wouldn't
it? Yeah. Yeah. It would be for Billy, yeah, definitely.
Well, I personally would take Aerosmith. That would be rather lovely if I could have that one. Thanks.
Well, if you can I come with you?
Yes, please. If that happens, you're my vocal coach. There's the deal.
Oh, brilliant. I'll go with that.
Just occasionally go la 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 when people are walking past, and it'll be fine.
That'll do. I carried some drums for Joe's brother once as a B&E's drum tech and got into Alice Cooper, so I'm going along the same principle.
Mate, clipboard and a high vis. You get anywhere you want.
That's all you need. Speaking of Billy, though, going back to Raven's Call, I love the talkbox bit on there with Billy and doing that on Raven's Call.
I'm glad you do, because I'll tell you what, he wouldn't have stopped going on about it. He loves that thing. He loves the talkbox. It's a bit of a joke in the band, actually, his talkbox. He's like, no one else is doing it, at which point we will invariably start playing Bon Jovi. But I think it's really fun to use something that is kind of like almost out of fashion, for lack of a better term. But
that's the thing with It's Raven's Call. I thought you've used it on other recordings, and me, I love Aerosmith. So Joe Perry always uses the talkbox on like Sweet Emotion and stuff like that. I always love that sound. Um, but like on the other releases, it sounded like a hark back to obviously Billy's influences in using it.
Yeah,
I felt him like Raven's Call. It really suited it, and it didn't sound like a hark back. It sounded like a genuine, like it just worked with that particularly. I thought.
yeah. The
I'm not going to tell Billy that because otherwise I'm going to cause
yeah,
us. But
we you know, we always make the joke like, we don't like to compliment each other, we're worried about egos, but it's first of all, if your friends are good at stuff, tell them they are, because it's a good feeling to tell someone they're good at something. It's really nice to hear it. But Bill is, I mean, I was talking to his partner about this, so it's true. It's almost like he can only really communicate emotionally through a guitar. Like that's how he actually speaks. And it's fascinating because you watch this man who is an absolute dilbert, for lack of a better term. He's just an odd little boy. He's a very strange bloke, hyper focused on numbers a lot of the time. And then he sits down with a guitar, and this kind of, it's so natural, it's so effortless coming out of him, and it's always so beautiful, which is infuriating. But he'll say things like, "I want to use the talk box here," and even though we'll say, "Yeah, I bet you do," we let him do it because generally he knows what's gonna make what he's trying to say, for lack of a better word, sound right. And I think that's a great example of where it did just work.
absolutely did. I mean, Billy's always struck me as a guitarist that's, he's a Joe Perry, he's a Slash, he's an emotional player. He's not necessarily a technical guy, and there's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with that either. I'm not saying he's basic because he's not, but I mean, you got your technical players like your Steve Vais, those kind of guys.
yeah,
And then you've got your Joe Perry's, your Slashers, the guys who built it up of, to quote Steven Tyler when he was talking about Joe Perry, Brad Whitford came from the school thing, and Joe Perry came from like sitting in his bedroom pissed off because he didn't have a girlfriend, or you know
yeah.
whatever it might be. And it's just real emotional, like you say, that way they're communicating. And Billy's always struck me as that man, and I think some of the guitar work on this album definitely sings that.
I mean, I was blown away by everyone's performance on it.
Mm.
It's you kind of, as the singer, when you come in at the end to do your part, everything's kind of already done.
Mm.
Or it's not mixed, but you can hear what they've done, and it means there's like a lot of pressure to be at the same level. But like I listened to Charlie's drum tracks when I was recording, and I thought, that man, he recorded this to like a rough,
Mm.
like we laid down, it's like one take, just run through, get the song so he's got something to play to. And like the quality of his playing, I mean, he's very young, but he's not as young now because we've been doing this a while. But when he joined the band, he was just barely 18,
Crazy.
and we're all in our late 20s, and just looking at the man he's become and the drummer he's become, it is wild because I think it's kind of like, it feels like a lightning doesn't strike twice thing of, I think if we hadn't found the 5 individual pieces of the band that we did find, I don't think any one of us would have stuck it out quite as hard as we have. But there isn't a kind of acute awareness that there is something here that works, and we don't want to waste it. I mean, that's what Do or Die is about.
Mm.
We had a meeting not long after COVID had stopped, and we said, it's, things are hard, times are tough, people are going to be funny about going to shows, and that is still the case. Like, a lot of people are still scared to go to large gatherings, and I can understand why. And we're in a time of austerity, to use a word that I hate. But it means that gigs are becoming more expensive because they have to, because venues are more expensive and production is more expensive. And it means that we're in this like perfect storm where people can't always afford to go to shows,
Yeah.
and some people can afford it and don't want to go to shows. So is it worth it now? Are we pissing in the wind, for lack of a better
Yeah.
phrase? And we said, "Oh, we'll go around the table and everyone say whether or not you want to stay in." And there's no judgment, and unanimously we just went around and was like, yeah, I have to do this. I don't want to do anything else. I don't know how to do anything else. This is what we are.
Yeah.
And that's what do or die is. It's the story of that. They're just friends at a table made the choice to change everything. We were like, no, put your glass up, knock them all together. We do this, or we burn out spectacularly. Those are the two options. There's no down tools and just go home and good job everyone, pat on the back.
Yeah.
That was it. Like this game, the music world, and I know you know this, and every band listening will agree with me. It's getting harder and harder and harder, and the nature of the game is changing faster. And you go back to when we were young, and you could play to a room with 6 people in, but one of those people was a talent scout looking for bands, and all of a sudden you're on a $1 million record deal. But that's not how it works now. You can play to thousands of people, and we've played huge festivals, and it doesn't mean anything to the industry people, because now they care about social media numbers and YouTube views, and those aren't, especially in our genre, there's a lot of older people.
Yeah.
So like physical record sales, we've just proven we can do great, but the music industry, especially for young people, is very disposable now. And it's this kind of like, here's a song. Oh yes, I like that song. I like that song because it has been engineered for me to like it. Excellent. Put it down. Here is another song. Oh yes, I also like this song. And it's, there are musicians working now in pop music who I think are astounding. Ed Sheeran is a genius,
Absolutely.
like bona fide a musical genius. And it is sometimes a shame to see how kind of uh, sanded off the edges of his stuff is. Like songs like You Need Me from his early stuff that are just mind blowing. But in the same way that I think Billie Eilish and her brother, who writes a lot of her music, I think they are astounding. I think they're doing incredible things musically, and I'm really glad that she's got sticking power and hasn't sort of disappeared off like a lot of young acts do, but also that her brother is, I don't know if you've noticed, slowly working in things like distorted guitars into the
Okay.
songs. And I'm hoping that maybe, it's things like that that do start those cycles and those waves. And if Billy, if you're listening, and I hope you are, you should be, everyone should be listening to this. But if you are heralding in a new age of rock and roll, thanks, Bill. I really like the song you did for Barbie. That was a good one.
But there is that crossover though, that man, you talk about, because you got like people like Nina Bettencourt, who's now, obviously as well as Extreme, is also touring guitarist for Rihanna.
Yeah.
Which is insane. That's happening. But I saw a thing with him and he was just like, you know what, I enjoy playing it, it's a good tune, I'll get paid.
Yeah.
And you're like, why shouldn't he do that? Why shouldn't he go off and do things he wants to do?
And that's the thing. I have this pretty firm. People like, what sort of music do you like? But there are only two kinds of music. There's good music, and there's bad music. And bad music is music with low effort, poorly produced, written uninterestingly. But like if I went through the last 10 songs played on my Spotify, say for example, there'd be a song by Pete and Baz in there, who are a pair of old boys from the East End of London who do proper old man grime.
Okay.
And then the next song will be something from Aerosmith or something from Pearl Jam or Electric Callboy, or another band that I've been listening to loads of. So you've got like Europop screamo and old men rapping, but it's all written so truthfully and like played with spirit, for lack of another way to describe that. It's this. I think like if music feels good and it makes you feel good, like there's actually no hard and fast line for what's good music and bad music. Like some people bounce right off folk. I love folk music. It makes me feel good, and if music makes you feel good, that's good music, and enjoy it. Don't. Yeah, I don't know. I think music's very divisive, and the gatekeeping element of it as well is really problematic, especially in our circles.
Yeah.
Not quite so much in rock and roll, but in metal. Good God, why gatekeep? If someone's wearing a Megadeth t-shirt and she looks like she's never heard a Megadeth song, or you see a guy wearing a, I don't know, Sonata Arctica shirt and you don't think he's ever heard of them, don't be like, name 3 songs.
Yeah.
Say, oh, I love that band. And they'll go, oh, I didn't know it was a band. I should look that up. Because that's how you get new people into things. It's
That's inclusive, not
being,
exclusive.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, being the only monarch on Castle Loser is not the way to enjoy something. Just guys, speaking as a goddamn musician, if people want to buy a Dead Man's Whiskey shirt and wear it and they can't name 3 of our songs, thank you for buying the merch. That's how we survive. That's like, educate and integrate. Don't gatekeep.
I
And
remember
I'm
you.
sure.
I remember years ago, when I was living in Norwich when I was at uni and that, and I went to see UK subs because as much as I love my rock, I also love a lot of punk and a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. And I went to go watch UK subs, and at the time, back when I still had hair, I basically walked into UK subs gig with my hair long. I had a Doors t-shirt on and jeans,
Yeah.
and there was this like little snotty 15-year-old who was like, if you were to paint like a caricature of a punk kid, it would
Yeah.
be this guy, like it's
Right.
just so uniform, bondage trousers, Mohican, blah blah blah. And I couldn't give a shit, but there was no support band, so the subs were doing like 2 sets, and I was down the front enjoying myself because I like the subs. And then like between bits and pieces, I went to the bar and went and got a drink, and he was there getting, I don't know, Coke or whatever. And he was like, and he just was like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "What?" And he went, "You don't like the subs?" And I was like, "Well, why the fuck would I have bought a ticket?"
Yeah.
It's UK subs. It's not a band that you go and see for a namesake necessarily.
Yeah.
And I was like, why the hell would I have bought a ticket then, man? And he's like, well, look at you, got an Doors t-shirt. And I was like, I'm aware of this. This is the first t-shirt that was at the top of my drawer when I came out this evening. And he's just like, no, you can't like both. And I'm like, you absolutely can. Look,
You can't like both.
Charlie Harper's at this point 60. He definitely would have been around when the Doors were going on. I imagine Charlie Harper probably likes the Doors.
Oh man, people are weird, aren't they? I think everyone wants to have their thing, especially us alternative people. It can be a bit like it's me against the world. And then you leave your secondary school where there are 2 or 3 alt people, you go to college or uni or just into the world, and suddenly I'm like, actually, there's quite a lot of people with tattoos. Oh, actually, that's I can definitely recognize the music coming out of that guy's car. Or maybe I'm not the lone wolf. Like, just yeah, I don't know. What's the point in trying to be the only person who knows about something? It's obviously not the case because you're at a room full of people listening to him play.
Exactly. You know, going back to yourselves, there's, all the people that turned up last night. There's all the people that are going to turn up for the tour. All of those people who have bought the album and got it charted and everything else. None of those are lone wolves. Together, we're a stronger force than we are divided.
Yeah.
So why try and divide people? When it's already hard, as we were talking about,
Yeah.
why try and divide it up any further?
Just be nice to each other. I think that's my life takeaway. Like, there are people who are like irredeemable. There always will be. There are always going to be people who are unkind, people who hold a lot of hatred in their heart, people who are homophobic or racist or transphobic. And the best thing you can do for those people is not say, well, they're hateful, so they should be removed from society. It is, like I said about music, it's education and integration, because the best thing we can do for society is, instead of I don't like to use the Bible for anything apart from, to keep the house warm. um Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. None of us are right all the time. None of us are perfect. And if someone hadn't told you the things you wouldn't know them. So maybe no one's told them. And if once you try to help someone and you teach them and you help them to understand. If then they just still want to be hateful, sure, that's the time to drop someone. But there is not enough time and energy given to love and to improving like society as a whole. There is so much division. There is so much like throwaway hate. Let's. I mean, God, I know I'm such a soft lefty, but I think everyone and on both sides, like it is the horseshoe. The horseshoe effect is real.
It is.
Both sides are going so far that they're nearly touching, and maybe just maybe it's time to maybe put all our differences aside. Maybe if all of you were to just sit down and listen to the new release In the Storm by Dead Man's Whiskey, you'd feel a little different about the world, you know.
Look on the world in a much better light. And on that note, Nico, it's been great to chat to you as always, brother.
It's been a pleasure, man.
Always good to have you on. At the beginning of the interview, I'm going to play Raven's Call because we've been talking about it quite a bit. But
Amazing.
what song off the album would you like us to play at the end of the interview? We'll sandwich it in the middle.
Oh, let's say Do or Die.
So we'll go with that. Seems like a good one to go with. Nico, thanks for your time, buddy, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me, Lee. You take care.
You too, buddy.